gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Today, we're diving into the recent issues surrounding the GSA's newly expanded acquisition data reporting program.
Yeah, there's been a lot of buzz after the watchdog report highlighted several shortcomings in the system.
Right, the watchdog essentially said the program is riddled with flaws, especially after its recent expansion.
I think what stands out is how data accuracy seems to be a persistent problem. Why is it so hard to get clean data in government acquisitions?
Well, a lot of it comes down to the complexity of the data sources. Multiple systems feed into the program, which can lead to inconsistencies.
That makes sense. When you have different teams entering data, the chance for errors multiplies. It feels like the old telephone game.
Exactly, and the more manual input involved, the higher the risk for mistakes. Automation could help, but it's not a cure-all.
The watchdog also mentioned insufficient training for staff. You'd think that with a program this important, training would be a top priority.
You'd hope so, but sometimes when agencies roll out new features quickly, training gets squeezed out of the timeline.
That's a bit ironic. Expanding a program but not giving people the tools to use it properly.
It's almost like giving someone a fancy new phone without showing them how to use any of the features.
And then expecting them to run your business from it. But seriously, do you think these issues are unique to GSA?
Not at all. Many federal agencies face similar hurdles when it comes to data collection and reporting.
The stakes are high, though. Accurate acquisition data impacts budgets, policy decisions, and even contractor oversight.
Absolutely. If the data's off, you might end up overpaying or missing red flags in procurement.
The watchdog report also noted that the GSA didn't always verify the accuracy of the submitted data. That's concerning.
It is. Verification is crucial, but it can be time-consuming. Still, skipping it is like building on a shaky foundation.
I wonder if it's a resourcing issue. Maybe they just don't have enough people to check every data point.
Possibly. Or maybe the tools for verification aren't robust enough yet. Technology can help, but it needs to be tailored to the agency's needs.
Speaking of technology, the report mentioned outdated systems feeding into the program. Legacy tech strikes again.
That's the perennial challenge in government IT. Upgrading systems isn't just expensive, it's a logistical headache.
Sometimes it feels like agencies are patching up an old boat instead of investing in a new ship.
True, but budgets and procurement cycles don't always allow for a full rebuild, so agencies try to make do with what they have.
The result is often a mishmash of old and new systems that don't communicate well with each other.
Exactly, and that creates more opportunities for data gaps and errors.
The watchdog also found that reporting requirements were sometimes unclear. That's a recipe for confusion.
Definitely. If the people entering data aren't sure what's expected, you'll never get consistent results.
It's like following a recipe where half the steps are missing. Your cake is probably going to flop.
Or you'll end up with a cake that looks right but tastes terrible. Clarity in requirements is key.
So what do you think could actually help? Better training, clearer requirements, more automation?
All of the above, but also ongoing feedback loops so issues get identified and fixed quickly.
Continuous improvement is critical. You can't just set it and forget it when it comes to data systems.
And bringing in user feedback is huge. The people entering the data have insights the designers might not consider.
There's also a cultural aspect. Sometimes staff feel reporting is just another checkbox, not a meaningful task.
That's true. But when people understand how the data is used, they might take it more seriously.
Maybe agencies need to do a better job communicating the bigger picture, how accurate data supports the mission.
Agreed. When you see how your work fits into the agency's goals, it can be more motivating.
The watchdog report did offer recommendations. Do you think the GSA will act on them?
I think they have to. When issues are this public, there's pressure to show progress.
Implementing change is always easier said than done, though, especially in large organizations.
True. Organizational inertia can be tough to overcome, but sometimes external scrutiny is the push that's needed.
It's like finally fixing that leaky faucet when your guests are about to arrive.
Exactly. The spotlight can be uncomfortable, but it does get things moving.
The report also highlighted that vendors sometimes submitted incomplete or inaccurate information.
That's another challenge. Contractors have their own systems and processes which may not align with GSA's.
Maybe requiring standardized formats would help, but enforcing that across hundreds of vendors sounds tough.
It does. And smaller vendors might struggle with new requirements, which could limit competition.
Balancing oversight with accessibility is always tricky. You don't want to discourage participation.
Right? But you also need solid data to ensure transparency and accountability.
The irony is, the more data you collect, the harder it is to manage and verify.
Data overload is real. You need smart systems to filter and flag anomalies, not just collect everything.
Do you think AI or machine learning could play a role here?
Possibly. Automated anomaly detection could catch errors faster than manual checks.
But then, you need people who understand the tech and can interpret the results.
Exactly. Technology is only as good as the people using it.
It's a bit like having a self-driving car. You still need to know when to take the wheel.
Good analogy. Oversight can't be fully automated. There's always a human element.
Looking ahead, do you think the GSA's approach will shift significantly in response to this report?
I think they'll make incremental changes. Big overhauls are rare, but small steps add up.
Maybe they'll pilot new tools or processes before rolling them out agency-wide.
That's usually the safest route. Test, learn, adjust, then scale up.
The report's findings could also influence other agencies to review their own reporting systems.
Definitely. Issues in one agency often reflect broader trends in government operations.
It's a reminder that modernization is an ongoing process, not a one-time project.
There's always a temptation to declare victory after a big launch, but maintenance is just as important.
Especially when public funds and trust are involved. People want to know their money's being managed well.
Transparency and accountability are at the heart of public service.
So, for listeners who might not follow federal acquisition closely, why should they care about this issue?
Because it affects how government spends taxpayer dollars. Better data means better decisions.
And that impacts everything from infrastructure to healthcare to national security.
Exactly. It's not just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about real-world outcomes.
In a way, it's like maintaining good records at home. If you lose track of your budget, things can spiral.
Or you end up with 5 subscriptions to streaming services you never use.
Guilty as charged. But jokes aside, the stakes are much higher at the federal level.
For sure. Every dollar counts, especially when the needs are so great.
So what's your biggest takeaway from the Watchdog's report?
That systemic issues need systemic solutions. Quick fixes won't cut it.
Mine is that communication and training are just as important as technology.
Agreed. It's a team effort across roles and departments.
Maybe the GSA will emerge stronger after working through these challenges.
Let's hope so. Lessons learned here could set a precedent for other agencies.
Before we wrap up, what's one question you'd leave our listeners with?
How can we balance the need for comprehensive data with the realities of limited resources?
And how can agencies foster a culture where data accuracy is everyone's responsibility?
Great points. Thanks for joining us as we unpacked the GSA's acquisition data reporting challenges.
We hope today's discussion sparked some thoughts about the importance of getting the basics right.
Until next time, keep questioning how systems can be improved, big or small.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for watching. I'm Nancy, your AI avatar. If you like this podcast, you can get one for yourself based on a website, YouTube video, or any source. Contact me to get a customized quote for your content. See you soon.